Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and continuing on, me reviewing some of my all-time favorite films, and in celebration of my birthday. Yes, you read the title, and as I teased in the last review video, Pixar made a name of themselves in the mid/late 90s when they brought us the world's first ever computer animated feature film, which being Toy Story. And during when Toy Story was almost complete/finished, that famous lunch where 4 legendary Pixar members, that being John Lasseter, Andrew Stanton, Pete Docter, and the late Joe Ranft, sat down for lunch and discussed what their next big feature films would be after Toy Story. And those feature films that they discussed and talked about, well, one, which being a movie about bugs, which that being Bug's Life, and that being the first ever computer animated feature film in widescreen. A movie about a clownfish who searches for his lost son, which being Finding Nemo. A film called Trash Planet, all about a robot who's alone on Earth, which would become WALL-E. And the other movie that they discussed and talked about was all about monsters hiding in your closets, under your beds, and, them working. Like, this is a job that monsters do. That being, and I consider one of my all-time favorite Pixar films, Monsters Incorporated. Yes. Monsters Incorporated, Monsters Inc., however you want to call it, and many of the Pixar people have called it Monsters Incorporated. So, I don't think it matters whether you call it Incorporated or Inc. So yes, Monsters Incorporated. This is another Pixar film. Like, not only was this Pixar's 4th feature film, but it did make animation history for sure, because, how far Pixar had come since their first 3 feature films, especially after working on Toy Story 2, and after working on Toy Story 2, which that being the last Pixar film that they did at their original studio, Point Richmond, Steve Jobs moved them to their new home in Glendale, California. Yeah. And thus, their new official home, a beautiful animation studio, which is Pixar's paradise. Yeah. And thus, at their new studio, they would work on their next big feature film. And yeah, because I tell ya, What a remark Monsters, Inc. left. You know what I mean? It's just so memorable. The story, the characters, the style to it, how these monsters look. Just, I could go on. And another fun fact. This was my first Pixar film where my parents took me to the movie theaters when I was just about 9 months old. So when I was 9 months old, again, my parents, they took me to the movies, and this was my first, not only was this my first Pixar film, but my first movie to see on the big screen. Even though I was 9 months old, still, bear with me. When it came up to the opening scene with Monster Bile and that simulated kid, my parents looked at each other and they were like, we brought our son to a scary movie. But it wasn't long until the funniness happened, and you know what? That's the thing. Like, even the Pixar crew established, and I remember listening to the commentary that, Lee Unkrich explained that, yeah, we scared you a bit, but no, this is going to be a really funny movie. And yeah, thus, it is a hilarious movie. Like, what happened in the opening, like, yeah, it kind of scared you a bit, like, but then just the funniness began. And from there on in this movie, yeah. Okay, so as always, read the description / the story. Monsters Incorporated is the largest scare factory in the monster world, and James P. Sullivan is one of its top scarers. Sullivan is a huge, intimidating monster with blue fur, large purple spots and horns. His scare assistant, best friend, and roommate, Mike Wazowski, is green, opinionated, festy little one-eyed monster, if I said that one word right. Visiting from the human world is Boo, a tiny girl who goes where no human has ever gone before. Okay, so I don't know where to begin, cause so much to talk about of this movie, as I always do with, reviewing movies. Yeah, because, this, again, Monsters, Inc. so memorable with, the story, the animation, the characters, and the music. Can't forget to mention the music being scored by the one and only Randy Newman. And, the music and score, sometimes has that jazz vibe, and pretty much it is. Sometimes we have a bit of jazz, especially in the opening credits. The opening credits to Monsters Incorporated is so memorable. Yeah, because after the opening credits, that opening sequence, oh my gosh. And as I explained, when my parents took me to see Monsters Incorporated, again, when I was 9 months old, most of the time I was asleep when seeing Monsters Incorporated. I mean, any 9-month-old baby would, so. But according to my parents, I did laugh alongside with them with whatever it was in Monsters Incorporated that was funny. So yeah. So again, the opening sequence with this boy sleeping in his bedroom and, a door creeping and we see a monster tentacle and, those eyes under the bed and then, scaring the kid. But the monster is scared of the kid and just chaos happens in the bedroom. And it turns out it was all a simulation. The kid is a robot. And we get the introduction of a couple of characters from Monster Bile, being voiced by a member of Pixar, Jeff Pigeon. He's probably best known for being the voice of the squeezed toy aliens in the Toy Story franchise. So yeah, he's the voice of Monster Bile, Thaddeus Bile, and, he would like to, his friends call him Flim. Yeah, if I said that right. And we also have Miss Flint, being voiced by Bonnie Hunt, and she previously was the voice of Rosie the Spider in A Bug's Life, and after A Bug's Life, Monsters Incorporated, she would go on to, be in a couple of other Pixar films, like voicing Sally in the Cars franchise, and Dolly in the Toy Story franchise, starting with Toy Story 3. Basically, because what Bile did wrong is not because, he thinks it's because he fell down. Well, no, before that, he left the door wide open, and leaving the door open is the worst mistake any employee could ever make because... my mom loves how Miss Flint said that, because, and, Bile guessing, it could let in a draft, and you hear this booing voice, it could let in a child, and we get the introduction of Henry J. Waternoose III, being voiced by the late legendary James Coburn. Yeah, his voice performance, I should say, as Henry J. Waternoose, fantastic, because he's James Coburn. Just basically giving Bile and all the other monsters in the simulated room details about, kids and, you can't touch kids and so on, and, telling them about, needing screams from kids for power. Without screams, we have no power. And then he talks about, James P. Sullivan, because what he says, I need scarers who are confident, tenacious, tough, intimidating. I need scarers like James P. Sullivan. And the introduction to Sullivan himself and Mike Wazowski. And it's amazing because especially for Sully and Mike, it doesn't take you long enough to know what these two are like, their personalities. You instantly connect with these two characters. You know them so well, and you just fall in love with these two characters immediately. That's what's fantastic, and that's why Pixar is so great at doing stuff like that, Like, it's like, no matter what, any characters, like, you just immediately fall in love with these characters and so on, you know what I mean? Because Pixar gets the job done. Again, the introduction to the two characters, and Mike Wazowski, pretending to be the radio announcer, and, just him waking up Sully is pretty funny, and that, exercise training montage, hey, let's talk more paint, Marshmallow Boy, however he said it. Scary feet, fight that plaque. Scary monsters don't have plaques, Sully. And, right after that, a new commercial for Monsters Incorporated comes up, and they're really excited for it, and, during the commercial, because, hey, look, Betty, and seeing themselves on the commercial, and when Mike is excited for his big part in the commercial, and the fact that he is covered and blocked by the Monsters, Inc. logo. And you think that he's disappointed by it, but no, because he was just happy to see himself on TV. It's like, it doesn't matter, to him it doesn't matter if he gets covered or anything like that. He is there. I mean, yes, he's there, and, that's good to see, and nice to see that Mike does not complain, like, if he gets blocked or anything like that. And that happens again to him at the end of the movie, and until I get to that. And it was funny, because they get a phone call. It's Sully's mom, and Mike just, saying, I know! Was I great, on TV? It's your mom. What can I say? Blah, 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 yeah. And them walking to work, and, just each of the monsters in that neighborhood, town where they live in an apartment building. Mike wants to take a drive in his car, but, Sully insists that they're walking, and they run into a couple of monsters, like Tony the Italian grocery monster. And Tony was voiced by, what's his face, who, Guido Corani, if I'm saying his last name right, who would go on to voice Guido in the Cars franchise, because, the fact that Guido is actually Italian, and, he's also an Pixar employee, like, and, that's the thing, so many Pixar employees, like, them getting to voice some characters, whether if it's big top build characters or, supporting characters, it's fantastic, and nice to see that it's not just Pixar, but a couple of other animation studios like DreamWorks, they've done the same thing too, like, those, some DreamWorks employees who have done voices in the Shrek franchise, yeah. And even at one point, because they come up the crossing path, crossing the road, the stop sign, and, hey, Ted, good morning! And fun fact, according to Pete Docter, Ted's roar was supposed to be Godzilla's roar, but they weren't able to get the rights to use Godzilla's roar, so they went with a chicken. And, hey, that's funny, having a chicken for this big giant monster. And it would have been nice if we would have gotten the Godzilla roar in Monsters Incorporated, but it's still, the movie worked out fine without having that, so yeah. And thus we see Monsters Incorporated, all these colorful characters like, Needleman and Smitty being voiced by the late Dan Gerson, he too being a Pixar employee. And we have Mike's beloved girlfriend, Celia May, being voiced by Jennifer Tilly. And, I like the romance between Celia and Mike, and probably one of my top favorite Pixar couples, I would say. And today is Celia's birthday, and Mike mentions to Celia that where they're going special tonight is Harryhausen's. Harryhausen's, but it's impossible to get a reservation there, not for Googly Bear. And that little song he does for Celia, very sweet, you and me and you, both of us together. Yeah, you can even see Sully, because he had to pick up Mike's suitcase, lunchbox, whatever, and he's just like, oh, Mike. You could see he's just shaking his head, because it's kind of embarrassing for him, I guess. And it is thanks to Sully for getting those reservations for Mike and Celia at Harryhausen's, and Sully teasing him, and they're under the name Googly Bear, and Mike's response, that wasn't very funny. And we get the introduction of Sully's competitor in Monsters Incorporated, Randall Boggs, being voiced by the one and only Steve Buscemi. And Randall being one of my top favorite Pixar villains, because what he does later on in the movie, and until I get to that. And Randall just, taunting Mike and Sully, and especially the last thing he says to them right before he walks off, shh, 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 do you hear that? It's the winds of change. Yeah. And not to mention, because in Monsters University, he has a poster of that, and he, clearly, and now with Monsters University, he was quoting what was on the poster that he had in his college room at Monsters University. So after that, then we get the introduction of another beloved character of Monsters Incorporated, Roz, being voiced by another member of Pixar. I gotta say, there were a lot of members of Pixar who did a lot of voices in Monsters Incorporated. So Roz being voiced by the one and only and head of story at Pixar, Bob Peterson. Yeah, Bob Peterson. His performance as Roz is fantastic. Wazowski, you didn't file your paperwork last night, and that famous line that Roz says, I'm watching you, Wazowski, always watching. Yeah, Roz is such a good character. I can't deny it. So, nobody can, because this is Roz we're talking about. How can you not love Roz? And we then see the scare floor, and all the assistants to the scarers setting up and preparing for them to come in, and putting in the scream cans, getting the doors, and so on. And another character in this named Jerry. Yeah, Jerry. Who's the floor manager. But that's his name, Jerry. Being voiced by the late Steve Susskind, if I'm saying the last name right. I remember him from a couple of other, he's done a lot of voice work. He had a couple of voice roles in The Emperor's New Groove. He had an on-screen appearance in Star Trek V. And he was in one of the Friday the 13th films. So yeah, he's done a lot of acting, and I remember seeing him in an episode of Frasier. Yeah. So again, he voices Jerry / the floor manager with 7 fingers, and with the scarers making their way into the scare floor, and that music playing, and which of course being a parody of when the astronauts, walking in slow motion. A lot of people would remember that best from one of the astronaut movies, Armageddon. So yeah, that's what people remember nowadays is Armageddon. So another one of my favorite movies, yeah. Okay, so thus the monsters prepare and warm up, and it's really cool because each of the monsters, them preparing, and you know what? Some of the monsters / the scarers, they are named after many Pixar employees. There's one monster named Bob Peterson, one that's named Joe Ranft, Bud Lucky. Yeah, that's really nice. Nice to see. And thus, they're about to begin, and that one moment where Sully turns to Randall and says, hey, may the best monster win. And the next thing Randall says in response, I plan to. Golly, Randall, because he's, how jealous he is of Sully, and he wants to be top scarer, so better than Sully. And especially because a callback to what happened in Monsters University. Good connections and so on. What Monsters University did, fantastic. So again, Jerry, the floor manager with the 7 fingers counting down. We are on in 7, 6, and thus, when he gets to 2, You know, he doesn't say one, he just quietly with his mouth, and thus they begin their scares. And Sully being top scare, and, you know, Randall, like poor Randall, because he's not getting that much points. And so much happening in the scare floor. Like, at one point, Claus, one of the scarers, there he is, Claus Ward, if I'm saying that right, yeah, because that's his last name, Ward, being voiced by the late, legendary, member of Pixar, Joe Ranft. There was one moment where he came out of, the kid's closet door, because, you know, he was scaring the kid, but then it went down, you know, because what's in the Scream can, because, you know, he came out terrified and crying, and as he explains, the kid almost touched me, she got this close to me, and, you know, then his assistant, you know, saying, you know, she wasn't scared of you, she was only 6, I could have been dead, I could have died, and thus, steps in, the door shredder. Needleman and Smitty bring that out, and they shred the door, and Waternoose at one point came in and having a conversation with Jerry, and, you know, Jerry explained to Waternoose, we've lost 58 doors, and Waternoose saying, oh, kids these days, they just don't get scared like they used to. Yeah, not a lot of kids today. And then, like, even at one point, Randall made it to top scare for a brief moment. But then, Sully, because Mike is whipping out these Scream cans, because apparently Sully scared a lot of kids because, you know, slumber party, as he explains. So that's what was going on in there. And thus, you know, he's back being top scarer. And Randall's assistant, Fungus, the monster with the 3 eyes and the glasses, you know, with 3 lenses, being voiced by, and who is one of Pete Docter's heroes, legendary Muppeteer Frank Oz. Yeah, Frank Oz is the voice of Fungus, and, you know, he's Frank Oz. He's good at anything, you know, doing voices, because, you know, from voicing and performing the Muppets and, you know, voicing Fungus in Monsters Incorporated. He's Frank Oz. What more do I have to say? And it's, you know, the chemistry between Fungus and Randall's pretty funny. And Randall just giving Fungus a hard time. Yeah, and like, you know, Randall saying to Fungus, I don't see a new door in my station. I will personally put you through the sweater. And then, a memorable moment in this movie, 2319. 2319! Because George Sanderson, being voiced by another member of Pixar, Samuel Lord Black, he steps out after scaring a kid, and on his back is a sock. It's 2319, a code, you know, alerting, because, you know, a monster was in contact with a human child, and if it's an object or something, a human object that is, and thus it's a sock. And Jerry, you know, sounds the alarm, and thus the CDA, short for Child Detective Agency. Yeah, they step in and they take care of poor George because, you know, I mean, they got rid of the sock and they exploded it, but he has to get decontaminated. They shave him and they shower him, and he's got the cone of shame, and, like, he even had, like, a Band-Aid, and they removed that. Like, it was under his fur. Yeah, poor George. And Waternoose feeling down because so much had happened in one day, and, you know, him having to run this company, and, you know, according to him, you know, this company has been in his family for 3 generations. Well, and thus, he's Waternoose the Third. And he talks with Sully, and, you know, because the chemistry between them is really good throughout most of the film, because, you know, it's like, you know, Waternoose treats Sully like a son, you know, and Waternoose asking Sully to do him a favor tomorrow because, you know, because they're struggling with new scarers, and, you know, Sully, you know, in response, you know, inexperience, and Waternoose, oh, they stink. And so again, he asks him to drop by in the simulation room and show them what it takes to be a top scarer, and so on. I'll start with the old Waternoose jump and growl. Yeah, and thus it's the end of the day, and, they're all packing up and going home and such, and for Mike, well, because he's about to take Celia, out for her birthday, and Roz stepping in at one point, telling him that about his paperwork and such, and he forgot to do it again, and not nice on Sully's part, because Mike is having a bit of a difficulty trying to explain to Celia, but Sully has his back, explaining, it's just, I forgot to file out some paperwork. Mike was reminding me, thanks for reminding me, and so on. So, good for Sully, because he knows how much this means for Mike to take Celia out for her birthday at Harryhausen's, and, Sully would help out with Mike's paperwork and such, yeah. And by the way, because, that one scene where, they're at their lockers and about to leave the factory, because the part with, sweaty dog, that spray stuff, like, that was an improvised thing that John Goodman and Billy Crystal did. And yeah, if I didn't mention already, John Goodman, the voice of James P. Sullivan, and Billy Crystal, the voice of Mike Wazowski, their chemistry together, and the fact they at times did record together, just like how, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, they sometimes recorded together when they voice Buzz Lightyear and Woody. So that was improvised. Got smelly garbage and, wet dog and, yep, stink it up. That was improvised. Good on them, because, hey, especially for a Pixar film, it's always fun to improvise something. I mean, for any movie, whether if it's live action or animated, it doesn't hurt to do a bit of improvising. I also like to point out that if you know your Pixar history like I do, Billy Crystal was originally was considered to voice Buzz Lightyear in the first Toy Story film, but he turned it down because, well, at that time, everybody doubted on Toy Story, and, not a lot of celebrities wanted to take part in it. From Billy Crystal, Bill Murray, Chevy Chase, they were also considered to voice Buzz Lightyear until, well, Tim Allen did the voice, and, he, of course, is the voice of Buzz Lightyear. And ever since Toy Story came out, and when Billy saw it, the Pixar crew explained that Billy was kicking himself ever since he turned that down, and he immediately accepted voicing Mike Wazowski. And, this was a second chance for Billy. And, finally, Billy got to be a part of the Pixar family and doing a Pixar feature film. And, of course, he is the voice of Mike Wazowski. That role was perfect. That voice role, I should say, was perfect for Billy. And imagine if he was Buzz Lightyear, but no, because Tim Allen is Buzz Lightyear and Billy Crystal is Mike Wazowski. Okay, so continuing on with the movie, because when we come up to Sully, going to, help with Mike's paperwork, looking at it, he immediately gets distracted by one door that is in the scare floor, and he notices that it's active. And, he even, calls out, "Hello, anyone? There's a door here." And, yeah, when he sees that it's active, he quietly opens it and, "Hello? Psst, hey, anybody scaring in here?" And there's no monster present, nor a human child. No human child on the bed. And, he's just confused by this, and when he steps back out, into the scare floor, he hears a thump, and it's a little girl, playing with his tail, and just, all hell breaks loose, and Sully just, trying to step away and not be touched by the little girl. He tries to get it back in her bedroom, but, it's too fast, and, getting out of the bedroom and, putting her back in on the bed, and he tumbles, and he's, all piled, a lot of toys are piled up on him, and, he sees that it's Randall, making his way into the scare floor. He scatters, and Randall has this, giant, cart of, cans. What's he doing with all those cans? Until we find out a little bit later on what he was actually doing in the scare floor that evening. So Sully, like, trying to dispose and get rid of the human toys by, at one point, flushing them down the toilet. And actually, because, I didn't really think of this until now, because Monsters Incorporated is the first computer-animated feature film where we see a bathroom, a toilet. Like, literally, if you think about it, like, yeah, Monsters, Inc. was the first to have that. Like, to actually see a toilet and, like, flushing something, yeah, and so no luck on trying to flush down the human toys, so he just stuffs them in a locker, and then we see what happens when that locker is opened and whose locker that is. And then we see when he turns around and walks away, Boo is on his back, and it doesn't take him too long to realize that Boo is on his back, and he runs away. And it was funny because this giant monster running away from a cute little innocent girl, and that's where Boo starts calling Sully Kitty. And he tries to dispose Boo once again by, like scooping her up in, like, this Monsters, Inc. bag and taking her back to her bedroom, the door, and it's pretty much too late because Randall stepping out of the door, because there was no sign of the little girl, that being Boo, and thus he sends the door back to the door vault. And, well, because how is Sully supposed to know what door that is and, like, the key to summoning the door? And it was also like a gasp moment where you think that Randall heard the laughter of the little girl, because, like, the little girl's hand, popping out of the bag, like, just, like, get back in there, and Randall, like, stops, and you think he heard it, but actually no, because he stopped because he sneezed. And thus Randall, walking out of the scare floor, and, well, Sully, he doesn't know what to do, because, it's gotten worse, and thus what he has to do next is run to Mike, right in the middle, where he and Celia are having dinner at Harryhausen's again, because of Celia's birthday. And we even see that the head of the Harryhausen restaurant, that octopus. And fun fact, Harryhausen's is named after the late legendary stop-motion animator Ray Harryhausen. And no doubt about it, because, well, a lot of the Pixar people, grew up and admired the films that Ray Harryhausen worked on, and, loved his stop-motion work. No doubt about it. And to name the restaurant after him, I wonder, like, if he knew about this, and I have no doubt that he would be flattered by it. So, yeah, and so, yeah, things really get worse, because, again, when Sully shows up and he's ruining everything, and, Sully telling him, because, he went to get his paperwork, and there was a door explaining to him that Randall was there, and both Mike and Sully speculate that, he's trying to cheat to boost his numbers. It seems like that at first. And there's something else to it. And, Sully saying to him, "Look, Lee, in the bag, bay." What? Look in the bag. There's no bag. What bag? And Mike sees the bag walking, he turns Sully's head and, running after her to stop the little girl. And Mike sees that, well, when she takes the bag off of her, it is a little girl, a human child. He panics, Sully, like, Celia, try to understand. I've got to do something. And once a couple of monsters, like, taking their picture, the photographer, they see the little girl, and then she lands on the main, like, table where the octopus is. Monster octopus, yeah, that's the best way to put at it. She goes, "Boo!" and, disaster strikes. All hell for sure breaks loose right there. The monsters panic, and yeah, because even, like, the monster octopus, like, cook, calls the CDA. There's a kid here, a human kid! And, Sully and Mike, they retrieve the little girl, and, the CDAs show up, and they even, quarantine the restaurant. And here's the thing, because, fun fact, and it's true, because originally, instead of the CDA quarantining the restaurant, they nuked it. They destroyed it. They, an explosion went off, but that changed to a plasma cloud, a force field, the CDA quarantining the restaurant due to the events of 9/11. So that's understandable. It was funny at first, the explosion, but not anymore after what happened. The same thing happened with Lilo and Stitch, if you know that. So, yeah. And also Celia, because it's a shame, because she should have known what was going on. And Mike and Sully, especially Mike, Mike tried to save Celia, but Sully pulled him back. Like, there's no point, especially since the CDA got her, because one of the CDA troops took Celia and please come with me. So yeah, poor Celia. And what would happen the next day when we would see Celia again? Oh boy. So again, the CDA, put a force field around the restaurant, and the news breaks out on, a human child being in the monster world for the first time in monster history, and all these people talking about what they witnessed and so on. Really funny. And back at Mike and Sully's apartment, it's not going so well. They're just trying to protect themselves from this little girl, because the equipment they got on. And even, at one point, because Boo sneezed in Mike's eye, he sprayed his eye, and, poor Mike. And, Sully noticed that Boo was interested in, the one-eyed teddy bear, which being Mike's teddy bear, he calls the teddy bear little Mikey. And Sully, picking it up, you like this? Fetch! And Mike, he doesn't like this, and he snatches it from Boo. That's it! No one touches little Mikey! And that another infamous sequence in this movie where Boo, cries up a storm, and it's causing the power to flicker and such. And one of the CDA helicopters notices this, and they're about to, head straight to their apartment. And Mike, pulling down the blinds, make it stop, will you make it stop? And Sully's trying to cheer up Boo with little Mikey, and it's working out okay, even when Boo, was going for the teddy bear, but also grabbed a little bit of, Sully's hand, and he panics because, she touched him, and Mike, Sully the bear, get me the bear. He trips, and, something funny happens to Mike, and getting hit with that, with a stereo piece, and this causes Boo to no longer be unhappy, but, laugh. And with her laugh, well, it causes the power, all around the apartment building to, really just, full-blown power, and then it just goes out. And Sully and Mike, they're just puzzled. What was that? I have no idea, says Mike, but it would be really great if it didn't do it again. So that was funny. And later in the apartment, because, they don't have power for now, so they just light up candles. And actually, and fun fact, because the Pixar crew established that, the candle lighting, in the apartment, it was, I think, if I recall, because if I remember correctly, because they said it was a nod to Barry Lyndon, I'm pretty sure, the candle lighting in Barry Lyndon. So that's what they did, a reference to that. So yeah. Well, and no doubt about it, because, well, the Pixar crew, they are fans and admire the late Stanley Kubrick. So yeah, especially Lee Uncourage. And Mike is trying to come up with plans to, how to get rid of the child, using mainly spoons. We dig a tunnel, blah, 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 and Sully, his response, spoons. That's all he has to say, because really, you think spoons is gonna work? And Mike, that's it, I'm out of ideas, we're closed. He crumbles up the paper, and he's still trying to come up with plans. And Boo, she drew a picture of both her and Sully holding hands, so, and Sully notices that Boo is getting tired and sleepy, and Sully and Mike, their dialogue, Mike, I think she's getting tired. Well, Then why don't you find her a place to get some sleep, however he says it, while I think of a plan? And so that sequence where Sully is tucking Boo to sleep, like, having her follow a trail of, they look like Cheerios, I think. Well, no. They look like Fruit Loops, kind of, You know how the Fruit Loop pieces look with a hole in it? So, yeah. And, basically poured, the cereal pieces, like, on a newspaper, like, thinking that's where she's gonna sleep. But no, she gets in Sully's bed. And Boo is terrified at first because of the closet door, and Sully, tells her it's just a closet. Will you go to sleep? And Boo shows Sully a drawing of Randall, and he figures it out, that Randall is Boo's monster. And Sully going on saying, you think he's gonna come through the closet door and scare you? Oh boy, how do I explain this? It's empty. See? No monster in here. And Sully just still trying to get Boo to sleep by, go to sleep. Now go. You go to sleep. And that gets her laughing, and then she immediately falls to sleep. And that's when Sully starts to realize and think and mention to Mike that the kid might not be dangerous. And Mike, he's just not having it. And, Sully then tells Mike, and this is what they should have thought of at first, especially Mike, just send her back to, her room and Monsters Incorporated through the door and such, and everything will be back to normal. And Mike in response, is that a joke? Tell me a joke. And Mike just going on, and then Sully notices that purple chair that they have, and he gets an idea. And the next day, and pretty much like what happens next, it's throughout the entire movie, them being at Monsters Incorporated. Because Sully made a costume/disguise for Boo, and they waltz their way into the factory, and as Mike says, I can't believe we're waltzing our way right into the factory. And then Mike goes on to Sully, telling him about Banishment, and it was pretty clever what Pixar did and established in this movie, because those who were banished and used to be in the monster world, those being the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, and the Abominable Snowman slash the Yeti. Pretty clever, Pixar, pretty clever. Because cryptids who used to live in the monster world. Yeah, really good. And, Mike is fearing that they could be next, being banished into the human world. And Sully is assuring him that everything is going to be okay. And right after he said that, when they enter in the factory, and outside inside the entrance, I should say, and at the front desk, all that. Monsters Incorporated is currently packed with the CDA. Like, the CDA is packed in the factory because of the human child. And we see Waternoose and, the CDA, having conversations with Waternoose. And Boo just got out of Sully's hands and, walked up to Waternoose, interacting with Waternoose. And Sully pretending / lying to Waternoose and anybody else, telling them that, she's actually my cousin's daughter's sister's nephew, as he says it. It's pretty funny. And Waternoose reminding Sully about, going to the simulated room, and Mike was not informed about this. And yeah, even because even Mike mentioned, because when Sully was explaining that, Boo in disguise is his cousin's daughter's nephew's blah, 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 and Water saying, not Waternoose, Mike saying that it's take your relative to work day. So yeah. And so, what they do first, like they go to the men's room with the lockers, and Mike explains to Sully to remain there while he tries to get the key to Boo's door. And Sully notices that Boo is doing a little dance, even Mike pointed it out, and he realizes in the look on Boo's face that she has to go, and, Sully, because he gets it now, and her in the bathroom stall, and, her singing, and by the way, because, can't forget to mention that the voice of Boo, being, the young Mary Gibbs, because she was only, 2 or 3 when voicing Boo, and yeah, because, how they recorded with a young Mary Gibbs, they just, had her play around, and they had a microphone guy there, and Pete Docter interacting with Mary Gibbs, with a puppet he had, and so on. And also, fun fact, Mary Gibbs is the daughter of the late member of Pixar, Rob Gibbs, who was another story guy, just like Bob Peterson and Joe Ranft. Yeah, he was in that position of Pixar. Yeah. So yeah, Boo, still using the bathroom. She is finished. She flushed the toilet. Sully, okay, you're finished now, right? And he opens it, and she's not there. He thinks that she flushed herself down the toilet. But no, because what she does next is play hide and seek with Sully. And, well, pretty impressive for Boo being that good of a hider. So even Sully compliments, hey, you're good. And then we come to Mike trying to convince Roz and, try to, be nice to Roz. Roz, you're looking fabulous. Is that a new haircut? Tell me, it's got to be a new haircut. You've had a makeup, you've had your looks, blah, blah, blah. And he just cuts to the chase that, listen, I need a favor. Randall was working here late last night out in the scare floor. I really need the key for the door he was using. And it doesn't work out because, Roz saying to Mike, well, isn't that nice? But guess what? You didn't turn in your paperwork this morning, blah, 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 and this office is now closed, and, slamming that on Mike's fingers, ouch. And that would be the last we see of Roz, throughout most of this movie until, very later on in the movie. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see when I get to that. So yeah, Mike has had no luck getting the key to the door, and he goes back to the men's room, and Sully and Boo, they're still playing, and, Mike, he just, he walks in and he sees, because what Sully is doing, fee, fi, fo, and, what are you doing? I'm looking for the kid. You lost it? But no, because, they're playing hide and seek and such. Then she runs to Sully. She's not playing anymore because, well, she is upset and terrified with what's behind her. It's Randall, because Randall's stepping in. He had a little conversation with the CDA, if you listen closely, and they're hiding in a bathroom stall, Fungus coming in, and, almost gave out to Randall about, the mentioning of the child, and Randall senses that there is someone in one of the bathroom stalls, and he starts by smashing the bathroom and stall doors, and right before he's about to hit the one where Mike and Sully and Boo are in, Fungus stepping in and, the front page! It's on the front page! The child! The one you were after! And that was a really good scene with both Fungus and Steve Buscemi, and actually, that scene where they're in the bathroom, I read, because Steve Buscemi and Frank Oz, they did record together for that scene. So yeah. And yeah, because a little mention about Randall searching for this kid, and there was a mentioning of a machine, and what machine? What is Randall going to do? What is this? And they don't know at first. That's all the detail that they got, Mike and Sully. And when Randall just unleashes his anger, and when I find out, who has that kid, however he said, they're dead. He hit that bathroom stall door, and if he had turned around, he would have seen Mike and Sully and Boo. So yeah, not even Fungus noticed either. And Randall just, gets Fungus to get out of the bathroom, the men's room, and, once they leave, you hear Sully whispering, they're gone. And Mike because he did accidentally his foot stepped in the toilet. Yeah, so he's got a piece of toilet paper, and they have no idea what this is all about a machine and so on. And Mike at one point saying to Sully, "We're just regular Joes on our way to work. We blend right in." And then they're not really blending in, because just them, "Top of the morning to you, fellas. Hey, what's shaking? Did you lose weight?" So yeah, and Sully asking Mike if he does have the key to the door, even though he doesn't. So he lies and steals a card from someone else, and thus activating it, sliding it, and a door comes down, and it's not the door that belongs to the little girl. Instead, it's like this, I want to say, it's a door that leads to, there's yodeling. So yeah, that's the best, because that's the best example right there, because we hear some yodeling. And Mike just getting the little girl to go into the door, but even though she knows that's not her door, and Sully just, telling Mike that it's not Boo's door, and thus that's where, Sully named the little girl Boo. "Boo, what's Boo?" asks Mike. "That's what I decided to call her. Is there a problem?" And what Mike then says, "Sully, you're not supposed to name it. Once you name it, you start getting attached to it. Now put that thing back where it came from, or so help me." And this causes attention from all the other monster employees, even 2 CDA agents. And that's when a hilarious and memorable moment, Mike saying to them, "Oh, hey, we're rehearsing a scene for the upcoming play called Put That Thing Back Where It Came From, or So Help Me." It's a musical, and them just performing. I like the extended version of that. That's in the bloopers, but until I mention the bloopers. And so after that little funny song number, "Put That Thing Back Where It Came From, or So Help Me," well, once again, Boo has disappeared, and it's funny because Mike just having such good dialogue in this, and when he says he's wondering, and wait a minute, the sun has come out. This is great. Ha! She's gone. And Sully, obviously he knows that's not the case, and he is trying to look for Boo. Mike is just begging him to stop looking for her, he thinks that the nightmare is over and such. And they bump into Randall, and because Randall, he can camouflage and turn invisible, and how he camouflages, like Sully because of the color of his fur, it's really funny and cool. And Randall mentioning to them about the little kid that got out the other day and such, and asking them if they know anything about this and if they're connected to this. And Mike then says to Randall that he should have his eyes on Waxford, and an assistant to a scarer in Monsters, Inc. And Sully, he did notice Boo, because Boo was hiding in a garbage can, behind a garbage can, and she ran off, and Sully going after Boo, and Mike, trying to stop Sully, but then you hear a familiar voice calling out Mike's full name, Michael Wazowski. It's Celia, because the aftermath of what happened to her last night outside the restaurant, oh boy, because she's got the cone of shame, and even her little snakes, the snake hair, they have little cone of shames too, and just, she's very angry at Mike, and, telling him, "Last night was one of the worst nights of my entire life, far none," and yeah, because the snake's hissing at him, and Celia just upset, thinking that, Mike doesn't care about her anymore and such, and Mike then saying to Celia, "I thought you liked sushi," and this has to do anything with sushi, because she then she's more angry, and "You think this is about sushi?" And Randall can hear this, and he then kisses Celia just to get her to shut up, because of Randall. And Randall notices because a newspaper that Fungus had, and because of what happened in the bathroom, because yeah, he realizes, and in that picture of Boo, that Mike is in the back, is back there in the picture, and thus he goes to Mike, and yeah, just him threatening Mike, where's the kid? And, he now knows that it's in the factory. It's in the factory somewhere. And Mike confronting Randall, if you hadn't been cheating, and Randall, because, cheating, and then he just plays along, because he quickly realizes this, and he just plays along with the whole thing of him cheating, with his scare numbers and so on. And, him saying cheating, right, okay, and, what happens when the whistle blows, and asking Mike, and, I get a timeout, everyone goes to lunch, which means the scare floor will be, and then Mike, in response, says, painted? Empty! It'll be empty, you idiot! And then he says to Mike, you see that clock? The big hand is pointing up, this little hand, when it points down, the door will be gone, you have until then to get to put the kid back. Get the picture? And Mike, he understands and he gets the picture. And then, another memorable moment in this movie, well, because Boo's still running around the halls and Sully trying to catch up to Boo, and she goes into a garbage can, and two CDA agents, come up to Sully, like, well, what are they gonna do to him? Well, they want his autograph. So, well, that's nice of the CDA. And basically, the autograph is for one of the CDA agents' daughter. So yeah, if you notice that. If you notice one of them saying that, that's pretty funny and nice. So yeah, and then we see Needleman and Smitty. They take the garbage can because basically, they're going to be dumping trash, and the dialogue that Needleman and Smitty have, because Needleman's, talking to Smitty about Needleman's mother, because Needleman is talking to Smitty about his mother, I should say, and he says to Smitty, I said, if you ever talk to me like that again, we're through. Oh, what did she say? My mom, she sent me to my room. And we do see Boo getting out of the garbage can, but a piece of the costume / disguise that Boo was wearing, an eyepiece, well, it broke off, and, well, Sully thinks that she's still in the garbage can even though she got out. He didn't see. And so they empty out the garbage and send it to, the garbage disposal, and turning the trash into cubes. Hey, like an early, talk about like a, what's the word? An early call, I should say, because what would be in Wall-E, So, yeah. And just that scene where Sully thinks that Boo is getting crushed and, rolled on, and so, that was so hilarious. And his reactions, it's funny. And that being a reference and in tribute to one of the most popular Looney Tunes shorts, with Mark Anthony and the little kitten. And, Pete Docter, he mentioned that, and how he explained it was from one of their favorite childhood cartoons. Yeah, everybody, Pixar, their favorite Looney Tunes cartoons, yeah. Yeah, because, taking some inspiration, like, no doubt about it, because so many things that Pixar does, like, taking inspiration and, in tribute / homage to the animation and stuff that they grew up with, like the Looney Tunes, it definitely shows, and in this. So, yeah. So, Sully, he's just dramatized and upset, thinking that Boo has been crushed to death, turned into a cube. Oh, poor Sully, even though he doesn't realize that Boo is, of course, all right, because we do see Boo meets up with these group of little monster kids, and the little kid monsters, along with Boo, are being watched over by Mrs. Nesbit. And I don't think I fully realized until now that, because Pixar, they reused the name Mrs. Nesbit, because if you remember in the first Toy Story film, that getup that Buzz was wearing and, saying to Woody, "Don't you get it? You see the hat? I am Mrs. Nesbit. Snap out of it, Buzz. Like, I had to finish that off because, with Woody. So, yeah, so it's nice that they, because, that's the thing with Pixar. Like, them with the Easter eggs and references that they do, and sometimes, like, certain names and words that they would reuse sometimes, like, most notably, like, Dynaco, A113. I could go on, and I'm sure you guys know that too. And so we see Mike trying to desperately look for Sully, I should say. And, he comes up to George and, George's assistant, like, Harvey, if I want to say, like, that's how Mike says his name, because, he at one point said his name right before the 2319 thing happened. Actually, my bad, because George's assistant is named Charlie. Yeah, Charlie. And being voiced by Phil Proctor, if I'm saying the last name right. Yeah. He stumbles upon George and his assistant, asking if they've seen Sully. They haven't. And then George, because, like, George gets the sense of feeling of Mike, boy, Wazowski looks like he's in a bit of trouble. And, well, so is George, because he opens his locker and there are Boo's toys that, they pile on top of George's head and his cone of shame. And then his assistant shouting out 2319, and it just so happens some of the CDA agents were in the bathroom stalls. I mean, even the Pixar crew established in the commentary that, everybody's got to go sometime. And, well, the CDA, they probably have zippers to their suits. So, makes you wonder, like, what the CDA agents look like underneath those suits. Yeah, because, like, how the CDA agents look and with their suits, it really makes you wonder. Like, you can tell that there are a couple where they have two heads, and with those red, like, they're supposed to be obviously, like, were they see-through, and some of them, they have 4 arms. Yeah. So, yeah, because they all get on top of George, and, well, Mike still looking for Sully. He eventually finds Sully, and Mike was gonna tell him about, Boo's door and such, and, well, because Sully having the cube of garbage, like, Mike even saying, Sul, that's a cube of garbage, and, the eyepiece, and Mike, uh-oh. And Sully just still upset, and, him going, I can still hear her little voice. Calm down, Sully. I mean, especially because, they of course find out that Boo's all right, because we do hear Boo's voice, and Mike, he thinks that he can hear Boo's voice in the cube too, and then the other little kid monsters, they're saying Mike Wazowski's name, because when Mrs. Nesbit asked Boo what her name was, she said Mike Wazowski, and all the kids are now saying Mike Wazowski. And so Boo and Sully are reunited. Sully, of course, is relieved that she wasn't crushed to death, and that's when, because one of the little monster kids, goes up to Mike and saying his name, yeah, sure, now move along, kid. He bites Mike's fingers, and he screams, Boo laughs, and that causes some of the lights in one section of the hallway to go out. And actually, some of those little kid monsters are voiced by some of the Pixar employees' kids, from Joe Ranft, Lee Unkrich, Pete Docter. Yeah, so that's nice to see. In fact, their kids also provided the screams of the human kids. Yeah, so a great moment for their kids to just let it out, you know what I mean? And so after that, well, Mike and Sully, they get out of there, and Sully, well, because Mike, told Mike told Sully that, well, he got Boo's door, and Mike will explain further details, when they get there, and thus they enter into the scare floor. It's, empty and the lights are off. Nobody is in the scare floor for now. And, you know, when Mike sees the door, you know, he goes, there it is, just like Randall said. And Sully going, Randall, wait a minute. And by hearing that name, like, Boo is terrified. She knows that name, of course. And Sully is sensing the fact that something is fishy and it's not a good sign. And, you know, Sully telling Mike that they can't trust Randall because, well, Randall's after Boo, and he does not want to go into the Boo's room, but Mike insists, and yeah, so he enters into the room like, Mike thinks that nothing's gonna happen, because, you know, stupidly, Mike thought, you know, he made a good deal with Randall, but Randall had something planned, you know, in his, you know, up his sleeves, you know, that Mike, of course, did not know about. And Mike just, you know, he's just asking for it because, you know, he enters in the room, he bounces on Boo's bed, and Randall, well, he snatches Mike. He thinks he snatched and captured Boo, but instead, he captured Mike. And so Sully and Boo, they hide from Randall. Randall sends the door back to the door vault, and, well, because Boo at one point tripped, and, well, Randall did hear something, and, you know, he turns invisible, and, oh, yeah, that music that plays, like, okay, what's gonna happen? Like, where's he gonna pop up? Where's he gonna show up and not be invisible? And he was right next to Sully. He was right next to Sully. He was under another table. Ugh. And the music getting intense, but then the bell rings, and everybody entering into the scare floor. And Sully, well, he goes after Randall, going to save Mike, and Jerry, and just to mention Jerry / the floor manager, he notices Sully, you know, hey, Sully, where have you been all day? Sully, because, you know, he's just walking off and running away, so Sully chasing after Randall, and then where Randall's going, because he's following Randall's trail, well, because, Randall, where is Randall? Because it's like, went into a dead end, and Sully's searching for Mike, you know, in the scream cans, and Boo discovers, like, these, like, tools that they're hanging up on a wall, because actually one of them, like, flipping them, well, it opens a door to a secret entrance, and yeah, and Boo complimenting Sully, not Boo, Sully complimenting on Boo, you know, Boo, way to go, because obviously that's where Randall went, and, you know, he has Mike instead of Boo, and we see as they make their way down below, well, because they discover and hear the voices of Randall and Fungus, and again, because Randall thinks that he captured Boo, and by placing, you know, supposedly Boo in a chair, but instead it's Mike. And, you know, Randall, Wazowski, where is it, you little one-eyed cretin? Okay, first of all, it's creep. If you're gonna threaten me, do it properly. Second of all, you're nuts to capturing me to try to get you to be a top scarer, etc. And Randall, you know, laughs and, you know, you still think this is about that stupid scare record? And Mike, in response, well, I did, right up until you chuckled, and now I'm thinking I should just, you know, head on out of here. But Randall is not going to have Mike, you know, walk away and such, and Randall telling Mike that he's about to break the ultimate, you know, scare record or something, you know, however he says it. And, you know, even saying to Mike, you know, that he's going to have James P. Sullivan work for him, you know, Randall's going to have Sully work for him, that is. And thus, Randall reveals to Mike, and with Boo and Sully watching all this, Randall's machine, it's the Scream Extractor. You know, Randall saying to Mike, say hello to the Scream Extractor, and Mike, you know, saying hello. And the Scream Extractor was just about to be used on Mike, and, well, thankfully, Sully basically pulled the plug out, you know, deactivating the Scream Extractor. I mean, we don't know that at first, but we know Sully did something, and Randall just turning to Fungus, blaming it on Fungus, you know, what did you do wrong? And Fungus has no idea what he did, and Randall saying to him, just go check the machine, and Fungus trying to figure out the problem and such. And Randall notices that a couple of cords are moving, and thus he goes and investigates, like, what happened, and he sees that, yeah, it was unplugged. And Mike trying to convince and make a bargain with Fungus, Psst, Fungus, you like cars? It was funny. And Fungus, he apologizes to Mike, and he can't do this because, especially what Randall might do to Fungus. And poor Fungus, because I have a feeling I'd like to think that after the events of this movie and when Monsters at Work happened, Mike and Sully, like, I'd like to think that they owed Fungus an apology, because knowing Fungus, he's a nice and innocent monster, just how he had been treated by Randall and such, you know what I mean? Because what happens with Fungus is that they put him on the chair, and and when Randall, plugs back in, the scream extractor, the machine is being used on Fungus, sucking out, basically Fungus's colors, because what the scream extractor does is, extracts screams from kids. That's the scream extractor, that's the purpose and what it can do to kids. And that's evil, And again, poor Fungus, what happens to him? And like I said, I'd like to think that Mike and Sully owed him a big-time apology. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? Because that's been on my mind, and I thought I'd share that. So with what's happening to poor Fungus and Randall, he's shocked what happened and such, and with Fungus, and it was funny because Fungus waved, and Randall saying to him, "What happened? Where's Wazowski?" And by turning off the machine, and Fungus is points because where they went, and thus Randall going after them. And what happens next is, because Mike says that that they should just leave the factory and just basically leave Monstropolis and so on, and by him saying goodbye Monsters Inc., goodbye Mr. Waternoose, goodbye Monstropolis, etc. But Sully has another idea, and because when Mike mentioned Waternoose's name, by going to Waternoose, and Mike, he doesn't like the sound of this, and Mike was right for what would come next, because in the simulation room, because once again, Monster Bile training and trying to scare the simulated kid, no luck again, because Waternoose saying to Bile, what was that? You're trying to scare the kid, not lullaby it to sleep, and Bile explaining to Waternoose, I was going for a snake/ninja approach with a little hissing. And Waternoose then saying to Bile, how many times do I have to tell you people? It's all about presence. Yeah, it is all about presence, of entering a kid's room and, trying to scare it with a perfect roar. And so Sully coming in, and he's trying to talk to Waternoose, but Waternoose, he wants Sully to proceed with showing the monster trainees, how to be a good scarer and so on. And by resetting the program, and Sully, he really needs to talk to Waternoose, and Sully had Mike hold Boo at one point, but, then Boo ran to Sully, and Mike, because Mike trying to stop Boo, because Mike knew what was coming, because, being, present with Sully, and what is to happen, because Waternoose telling Sully to roar, but sir, roar, and Sully, I'll be like, okay, I'll go ahead and get this over with. And by roaring in straight to the face of the robotic/simulated kid, and Boo stepping up, like walking up and seeing Sully roar, this terrifies her. She is dramatized by this giant monster that she came to like, and to see him, for what he really is, roaring and such, yeah. And Sully did notice that, and trying to, talk to Boo and comfort her and so on, but Boo's having none of it. And Waternoose and all the monster trainees, they're applauding because of what Sully demonstrated, and they all walk out of the simulated room, all except for Waternoose. Because when Boo at one point tumbled on these cords, well, she reveals herself, and, Waternoose seeing the human child, and Mike assuring and, telling Waternoose that Boo is not dangerous. And it was at that point where, I think Mike was starting to realize that, Boo was not dangerous and toxic. Yeah. And so Mike was going on talking to Waternoose what had happened all day, and with, Boo coming into the human world and so on, and with Sully, still trying to, comfort Boo and apologize to her and not to be scared or anything like that, and telling her that it was not real. And he can see on the monitors being frozen, like, right where he's roaring and where Boo is terrified, yeah, because how horrible he feels, and Boo just running away from Sully and hiding behind Waternoose. And yeah, Waternoose, he feels really bad about this because, again, with what Mike told him about Randall and Randall's machine and so on, and Waternoose asking Mike if anybody else knows about this. Nobody else does except for Mike, Sully, and now him. And Waternoose saying that, the company can't afford any more bad publicities. And Waternoose, then saying, now, before we do anything else, let's take care of the child. And, he feels sorry for both Mike and Sully, what they had to go through and so on. And, well, because, you think that Waternoose is summoning Boo's door. But no, it's a completely different door. And Mike saying, sir, that's not her door. I know. And then Randall shows up, he opens the door, and Waternoose saying, it's yours. And by pushing them into the human world, they've been banished. And yeah, just basically put out of the way because of what Waternoose, both Waternoose and Randall are doing, because they've teamed up. And the more you think about it, and with the character of Waternoose, like, I don't think he does this, like, really on purpose, because, I mean, he does explain to Sully, very later on in the movie, and until I get to that. So yeah, so again, both Mike and Sully, they've been banished into the human world, like Waternoose quick enough to close the door, and when Sully opens it back up, well, it's been shut off, and now they're stuck in the human world, and they're in the Himalayas, and, yeah, that really cool shot where Sully shouts Boo's name and the camera pans out. Yeah, and Mike just, he's so fed up with Sully now. And, Sully should have listened to Mike. And you know what? For once, Sully should have. And it's at that moment where, well, for a little while, Mike and Sully's friendship kind of temporarily came to an end. They've completely broken up, and, they have a little, like, wrestling, like, toss-up, like, as they tumble down this hill and such, and that's where they come across and meet with the abominable snowman slash the Yeti, being voiced by Pixar's Lucky Charm, John Ratzenberger, and his introduction, welcome to the Himalayas! And thus, the Yeti's Cave sequence, and that's the thing, Yeti's Cave. Like, fun fact, this was a real struggle for the Pixar crew when it came to, trying to figure out what is going on during the sequence where Mike and Sully are in the Abominable's cave, and because, both of them, their friendship had temporarily came to an end and such, and, the Abominable trying to trying to patch things up with Mike and Sully and so on, it was quite a struggle for the Pixar crew trying to find something that can work in this sequence. And of course, eventually they did, and what's in the final film. And that's how they call it, Yeti's Cave. And if you do know this, for any of you who know your Pixar history like I do, so, and, for those of you like myself who are, true Pixar fans. So yeah. So with the sequence with them in the Abominable's cave, because, like, a lot of funny stuff with the Abominable and, him going on saying, why can't they call me, like the adorable snowman, etc. I'm a nice guy. And him offering to Mike snow cone and, the Abominable assuring him that, no, don't worry, it's lemon. Hey, how about you, big fella? Snow cone? And for Sully, well, he's just upset thinking about Boo. Like, not only did he terrify Boo, but, losing her and, him and Mike being banished in the human world, Mike, he's still fed up over Sully, and especially Mike is upset because, they could have broken the record, like, this is all about, getting Sully to that high record and such, being top scare. That's what Mike is upset about and such. And, well, and especially for him just wanting to dispose and get rid of Boo, that's the whole reason. And again, because the Abominable trying to, try to make things better with Mike and Sully. Even the Abominable did mention at one point his buddy Bigfoot. Yeah, so another mentioning about Bigfoot. Abominable, talking more about, this Wonderland as he calls it, because Mike, giving Sully a hard time, because of you, I am now stuck in this frozen wasteland. And the Abominable in response, wasteland? I think you mean Wonderland. And he at one point mentioned a human village, and then he talked about yak smells, like he was about to talk about yak smells, and Sully, he heard about the human village and asking if there are kids at the human village, and there are kids, small ones, tough ones, blah, 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 and Sully just asking him, where is this village? And the Abominable telling him, it's at the bottom of the mountain, and, a 3-day hike, and Sully just upset by this, that, they have to get there now, and when he, hits a snowy wall, because it sounds like a snow piece rolling to this equipment that the Abominable has, and he gets an idea. Sully gets an idea of making a sled to get to the human village. And, the Abominable telling him, you want to go to the village? Okay, rule number 1 out here, never go out in a blizzard. And you know what? The Abominable is right. Never, ever go out in a blizzard. That's a bad thing. And Sully, he doesn't care. He's going to do whatever it takes to get to Boo. And Mike, still upset over Sully, and by taking the snow cones, throwing them at Sully, and, Boo, what about us? Ever since that kid came in here, and saying that the kid that ruined their lives and they could have beaten the all-time scare record, and Sully then says to Mike, none of that matters now. Yeah, none of that matters now. That's not important anymore. And it kind of really wasn't, what is important? Well, because their friendship and, the fact that they have to save Boo. I could go on, and I'm sure you guys get the point too. And Mike, he's lost for words about this, and of course, there's no more snow cones, and the Abominable, saying, oh, would you look at that? We're all out of snow cones. Let me just go outside and make some more, and thus he steps out. And then a pretty good moment, I should say, between Mike and Sully, because the dialogue that each of them say, Sully, what about everything we've ever done? Does that matter? Huh? About their friendship and such. And what about Celia? I am never going to see her again. Doesn't that matter? What about me? I'm your pal. I'm your best friend. Don't I matter? Because if any of those things matter to Sully, because again, how hard they've worked together at Monsters Incorporated, Mike and Celia, if there's a chance that Mike may never see Celia again because they're in the human world, and their friendship, because, Mike hates that, where their friendship is at this point. And Sully, he then turns to Mike right before, he walks out of the cave saying, I'm sorry, Mike. I'm sorry we're stuck in this frozen wasteland. I didn't mean for this to happen. And then going on talking about Boo being in trouble and such, and saying that if both of them, if we can just get there and save her, blah, blah, blah. And Mike then says, wait, we? Whoa, 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 whoa. We? No. There's no we this time, pal. If you want to go out there and freeze to death, you be my guest, because you're on your own. And I think, yeah, because Mike would, of course, regret saying that. And Sully, of course, being upset too, and, well, he proceeds on by himself, and Mike turning around, and, well, you can see in the look in his eyes that, he feels bad that he just made Sully go by himself and being alone and such. Like, of course, again, you can tell that Mike regrets this, because, of course, he doesn't mean this, and besides, he established later on that he was just upset, and, yeah, that's all there is to it. Just, you say things you gotta say, and you don't mean them, all because you are just blinded by anger and upsetment. You know what I mean? That's natural. Yeah. So Sully making his way through, because of this, like, snowy blizzard, and passing by the Abominable saying, hey, I got more snow cones. Well, no time for snow cones, because he has to race to the human village. And, well, he's making good progress, but up until he hits a rock and he tumbles, and I tell you, because that one shot where he lays flat on that snow and he's kind of unconscious a little bit, and that snow in his fur, like, oh, how fantastic that is. Even, for this computer animated film coming out in the early 2000s, it's impressive, because even the Pixar crew really didn't think it'd be possible that they can get snow on his fur and blowing, but they succeeded. And especially, they had, another fun fact, they had this tool called Fizzed. And yeah, I pronounced that right, and it's true, Fizzed. And basically, what that tool does is it helps, supply, the movement and animation of Sully's fur and Boo's shirt. So yeah, a good part on the tool Fizzed for taking care of that. And so Sully managed to make it to the human village, and, he can hear the kids' screams. Well, there are monsters present, and now is the perfect opportunity for him to go through one of the doors, and especially one of them is activated. Just so happens because George was about to go into one of those doors to the human village in, the Himalayas. And his assistant encouraging him to, do so and such, and, George, he's about to do so, but Sully, well, because he bursts out of the door, gangway, coming through, sorry, George, and, well, because when Sully came out, George has another sock on his chest, and his assistant about to shout 2319, but he grabbed him by the neck and put the sock in his mouth and threw him in the bedroom, because of the door. And why'd you do that, George? Like, what happened to George's assistant after that? Well, I'm sure he's okay, I mean, golly, George, were you not thinking clearly on what you were doing, throwing him in there? Like, I'm sure a lot of you would think the same thing too. And so Sully, making his way to save/rescue Boo, and we see Randall placing Boo in the chair and for the scream extractor about to be used on Boo. And Waternoose, because, he complains to Randall about, the fact that, Waternoose's top scare had been banished. Sully. And it's nice to see, because, how much love Waternoose has for his top scare. And as I said earlier, that, I can tell the fact that Waternoose sees Sully like a son to him, and even, Waternoose can't deny the fact that, and as he says to Randall, Sullivan was twice the scare you'll ever be, and Randall, he's just aggravated by that. So yeah, so even Waternoose, admits that, Sully is better than Randall. Poor Randall. And Sully just barging in and making his way into the secret room where the scream extractor is, and the scream extractor about to be used on Boo, but thankfully Sully making his way and roaring and, breaking the Scream Extractor apart and throwing it at Waternoose and Randall. And, thus he saves Boo. Waternoose has Randall, to stop him and so on. And Randall, him being invisible, just beating up and attacking Sully. And at one point, Randall saying, "You don't know how long I've wanted to do that, Sullivan." And then Mike steps in and, well, he throws a snowball at Sully. And again, as I explained, and as Mike explains to Sully, all the things that he said to Sully, he didn't mean it because he was just upset. And Mike has no idea that Sully is being attacked. Like, how can he not tell, and doesn't he, he should know the fact that Randall can turn invisible, And besides, he's been in that room. Come on, Mike. And, even Boo is trying to, alert Mike that Sully is being attacked. Kitty is being attacked. And at one point, Randall is strangling and choking Sully, and Mike still has no idea, and he thinks that Sully's not paying attention, and he throws the last snowball he has, but he threw it, and it hit Randall's face, and this was Sully's opportunity to punch him and knock him out. And Mike, he sees that it's Randall, and he goes, "Hey, look at that! Hey, look at that! It's Randall!" Oh, so now you see, now you know what just happened. So and Waternoose, you see Waternoose, and he says to Randall, "Get up! There can't be any witnesses." "There won't be," says Randall, and Sully saying to Mike, "I'm glad you came back, Mikey," and Mike then saying, "Somebody's got to take care of you big furball." And of course, because they're best friends and, their friendship and so on. Because, again, all that Mike said to Sully and such, he was just blinded by upsetment and anger, So, yeah. And then Celia showing up, and she just, jumps at Mike. She is still fed up with Mike, and Sully has to not only drag Mike, but also Celia. And Celia saying to Mike, "Michael, if you don't tell me what's going on right now, we are through, you hear me, through." And of course, Mike does explain to Celia what's been going on. And Celia, she doesn't believe it at first, and her saying, you wouldn't expect me to believe those pack of lies, Mike Wazowski." Boo popping up and saying Mike's name, and now she sees, and now she knows that Mike was telling the truth. And, Mike saying, "I love you, Schmoopsy Poo," and she sees behind her, Randall and Fungus, they're on Sully, Mike, and Boo's tail. And this was a nice moment for Celia. And even Pete Docter established that, everybody was liking Celia and, her character. And they felt that it was a nice opportunity for Celia to do something and to, kind of save the day, by speaking through the intercom and, making an announcement. "Attention, employees, Randall Boggs has just broken the all-time scare record," and that would give Mike and Sully a lot of time to get out of there and to stay away from Randall. And because, all the monsters, crowd Randall, and they cheer him and congratulate him. So yeah, and Celia, once she's done, she says, "Go get him, Googly Bear." And thus, Sully, activating, he pushes a button that sends all the doors in the scare floor back to the door vault. And Randall, he's still on their tail. They grab one of the doors, Mike and Sully, and so does Randall, who's on their tail. And we come to another memorable moment in this movie, the door vault sequence. Definitely it shows because how far Pixar had come so far. I mean, with the first three films that they've done, especially how big they went when it came to A Bug's Life. That was a big movie, and for that being widescreen, big sets, yeah. The same thing goes for Monsters, Inc., how massive the door vault was. I tell ya, just so many, numerous thousands of doors. And them just, chasing after Boo's door, and the fact that it's almost like a roller coaster, because one moment where, how fast the doors are going, being transported, it's funny. Boo's having a blast with this, but Mike and Sully, they're just terrified, especially when they go down a big drop. So, but again, Boo's having a great time. Speaking of Randall, I don't know, because we see a few shots of Randall. I don't know, because I wonder if he's completely fine with all that's happening, riding on the door that he's riding, and, then they come upon where, like each door's like they go to different tracks, that, and, well, they're not on the same track where Boo's door's going, neither is Randall. And so, them going through a lot of doors, like, Mike has to make Boo laugh, and by doing so, just grabbing his eyelid, and, ooh, that's gotta hurt. But, well, that's just how they had to get Boo laughing, and once she does, well, that causes all of the doors to activate, and they go through a couple of doors, like one that's Hawaii, and one that's in China, one that's in Paris, France. Hey, an early call, yeah, like to Ratatouille, because they would do a film that takes place in Paris, France. So, yeah. And Randall's still on their tail, and again, them trying to get to Boo's door, and once they get to the Paris door, and when Randall steps out, Mike closes the door on Randall. You could see, like, his headpieces, like, still outside of the door, because when it was shut on him, and, they think that that took care of Randall for now, but Randall's quick enough to snatch Boo away from them and to unlock the door and, sending them to fall almost to their deaths. And, it's still activated, so they go inside the door. It does fall and smash, but they enter and go through another door, and Mike and Sully chasing after Randall, who now has Boo, and it's up to Sully now, because Mike's saying to Sully, "Looks like we caught the express, pal. Do you see them?" asks Sully. And Mike's saying, "Straight ahead." And thus Sully proceeds on to get to Randall and save Boo. And when it comes up to one door that Randall went through and went inside, well, we don't see Randall, but Boo's there, perfectly not in any danger. But Randall, yeah, because he smacks Sully in the face and causing him to, like, hang off of the door. And Randall just, what he says to Sully, "Look at everybody's favorite scarer now, you stupid, pathetic waste." And just, like, smashing on his fingers, just making him, like wanting him to fall. And Boo still being terrified, but you know what? She's no longer terrified. This is the moment for her. She now is brave, and now she takes on Randall, like, just grabbing him and beating him with a bat, and with her beating him with a bat, because changes in different colors and such, and Sully grabbing Randall, and, Boo's, like scaring Randall, "Rawr!" And then Sully saying to Randall, "She's not scared of you anymore, and looks like you're out of a job." Randall, he does not sound the like of this, does not like the sound of this, I should say. He just gulps, and then what happens next? A funny defeat for Randall, because he is banished to the human world. They throw him in this one door to a trailer park, and it's the same exact shot of this trailer park with the Pizza Planet truck from A Bug's Life. Like, if this, like, could this be, like, in Monsters, Inc., the same guy who is the Pizza Planet delivery guy, driving that Pizza Planet truck who we saw in Toy Story? Like, talk about a connection, like, yeah, like, if Toy Story, A Bug's Life, and Monsters, Inc. all three of them are connected, and maybe possibly, in addition, Finding Nemo. Because, the Pizza Planet truck was there, Mike was there, a Buzz Lightyear toy was there, but, that's just, a Pixar theory, so, And Randall, because, he made his way into the trailer park, and, the kid, well, and supposedly, again, the Pizza Planet delivery truck guy, the delivery guy of the Pizza Planet truck, saying, Mama, another gator guiding through the house. And, we see the mama, another gator? Give me that shovel, just, basically beating Randall up with the shovel. And fun fact, the trailer mom, that's how she's called, the trailer mom is voiced by Brett Brooke Parker, another Pixar employee, and who would go on to voice a memorable character in The Incredibles, Kari. Yeah, that's her. I'm sure some of you did not know that. And she also voiced one of the monster kids as well. Just thought I'd mention that as well. So that's the end for Randall. Like, they break, the red light, and, they tip over the door because, Sully asks, saying to Mike, care to do the honors, Mike? With pleasure. And so they tip it over, and it falls down, and it breaks. Bye-bye, Randall. Have fun in the human world. And so they take Boo back to her door, but the power is off because, at some point the power to all the doors turned off, and thus they have to make Boo laugh again. And what Mike does, because I gotta move here, it'll break down the house, he does a flip, twirl, and he hits his crotch. Ooh, but Boo did not see that because of, part of the costume being over her head / face, and Mike complaining, what? Why did you not lift that up, her stupid headpiece and so on, and Boo just is not happy with what Mike is saying to her. And Sully saying, Uncle Mike, try not to yell in front of her, we still gotta make her laugh, and, Mike then, closing a door on him, so, that's funny. And it was funny because Sully, I think, any parent would do with their kids, so, yeah, you know what I mean. And then Boo's door activates, and it's being taken to the scare floor. And in the scare floor is Waternoose and the CDA. And Waternoose explaining to the CDA, when the door lands this station, cut the power, you will have the child and the criminals responsible for this. And yeah, so they're awaiting the child and Mike and Sully. And, well, Mike, saying, great, a welcome committee, what are we going to do? And Sully has another idea, so they hide behind Boo's door, and, well, it's kind of quiet for a moment, and one of the CDA agents calls out saying, this is the CDA, walk out slowly with the child, etc., and Mike, holding, supposedly, Boo in her monster costume / disguise, and here's the kid, you've got us, but before you take us in, I have one thing to say. He opens his mouth, and on his tongue is a sock, and, catch! It lands on one of the CDA agents. 2319, they tackle him, and, Mike runs away, and, he's basically having the CDA chase him, as well as Waternoose joining in, while Sully and Boo, well, they're going to make their way into the simulated room. But, they bumped into a couple of scream cans. Waternoose heard this, except the CDA, and now Waternoose is chasing Sully and Boo. And, he even said to the CDA, wait, come back, he has the child, and it's up to him now to chase him. And, Sullivan, give me that child! And, golly, because Waternoose can be scary at this scene, just him chasing him and just aggressively trying to get into the simulated room, because when Sully has it blocked, the door's locked with a pipe, and, Sully supposedly activates Boo's door, but what happens next is, well, because clearly, and it was very quick enough for, Sully and Mike to plan this out, because inside, supposedly, Boo's room, Waternoose finally made his way into the simulated room and into Boo's room, confronting Sully. This has gone far enough, Sullivan, and, she's home now, just leave her alone. I can't do that. She's seen too much. You both have. It doesn't have to be this way. I have no choice. Times have changed. Scaring isn't enough anymore. But kidnapping children? And then Waternoose going on saying, I'll kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company die, and I'll silence anyone who gets in my way. And like I said early, Waternoose, he doesn't become evil, for the heck of it, because, what he explained to Sully, because, Waternoose doesn't know this, because, with laugh power, because what happens at the end of the movie with laugh power, because how Waternoose feels is that, kids are not scared like they used to be, and with the Scream Extractor, that machine that Randall made, he thinks that, it can help produce more power, full-time energy for the monsters and so on, but no, because that was not a good option to do so. And, after Waternoose smacks Sully, and, you think that he's going after Boo, finally. He's about to snatch Boo. Well, he instead snatched the simulated kid. They've been in the simulated room the whole time. Sully did not activate Boo's door. And this is where, when it opens and, the CDA are there along with Mike, and, what happens next is that what Waternoose said to Sully, it was recorded, and good on Mike's part for recording it and, playing it, rewinding it, and playing it over and over again, and showing to the CDA what Waternoose said, literally exposing him. I'll kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company die, and that's the end of Waternoose's career, and thus he's arrested, and, he just blames it on Sully, by saying, "I hope you're happy, Sullivan. You've destroyed this company. Monsters Incorporated is dead. Where will everyone get their screams now? The energy crisis will only get worse because of you." And, fantastic, voice performance by James Coburn, and that, being the last lines that he has in this film. And, not to mention, this would be one of James Coburn's last films before he would pass away, and, he would die a year after Monsters, Inc. would come out. So, again, Waternoose is arrested. That's the end of Waternoose, his career flushed down the toilet. And we then get the appearance of Number One, because the CDA have Mike and Sully stay there, because Number One wants to talk to them, and Number One happens to be Roz. Yeah, because Roz has been an undercover agent, of the Child Detective Agency, and especially how, what was in Monsters University. We got that, cameo of Roz. So, yeah, pretty cool and hilarious. So Roz, talking to Mike and Sully, 2.5 years of undercover employment were almost wasted, and so on. And, without their help, they would have never discovered the truth about Waternoose and so on. And, Roz, telling them about, the little girl, now, about the girl, and Sully saying to Roz, "I just want to send her home." And Roz saying, "Very good," and, contacts, some of the agents, like saying, "Bring me a door shredder." And basically, and Sully figures it out, he asks, "I can't see her again?" And Roz saying, "That's the way it has to be." And, it was nice for Roz to say to Sully, "I'll give you 5 minutes," and for him to say his goodbyes to Boo. And, because when he activates Boo's door, Mike, he says his goodbyes to Boo, and, so long, kid. Was gonna handshake Boo, but Boo went in for a hug, and Mike, he couldn't help it. He couldn't resist it, and, "Oh, Boo, it's been fun." Mike, at this point, he really came to love Boo and so on, and, how fun it's been with her. And it was very sweet, because, Mike, the last thing he says to Boo, is, "Go ahead, go grow up." Yeah, because that's the thing, Boo going on to grow up, and thus a very sweet and another memorable moment in this movie where, she's back in her room, and a little bit of bonding between Sully and Boo. Like, you know, she has Sully hold some of her toys. Two of them, well, one of them being a teddy bear, the same teddy bear that we saw in the simulated room, but also one that's a squeaky fish toy that's Nemo. Yeah, because a little tease of what the next film would be after this that Pixar was doing. Yeah. And there's also a Jessie doll that Boo has. So again, talk about a connection. Like, you know, Toy Story, Monsters, Inc., as I said early, yeah. And Boo tucking, not Boo, Sully tucking Boo into bed, and, you know, Sully saying, holding the teddy bear, "Oh, he's a happy bear," and Boo pointing at the door, and Sully assuring Boo, "Nothing's coming out of the closet to scare you anymore." And then, because, you know, Sully's saying goodbye, Boo, and, you know, Sully saying goodbye to Boo, and Boo saying, "Kitty," she's holding Sully's hand, and Sully saying, "Kitty has to go," and them hugging goodbye, and you can see the look in Sully, his eyes starting to water up. Yeah. So touching, and that piano music that's playing just rips your heart out. And, you know, because Sully taking one last look at Boo in her bed and closing the door, Boo walking up to the closet door, because, like, and according to Pete Docter, they had to make Boo a bit taller to reach the doorknobs. Well, I mean, I don't think that matters. You wouldn't even know the difference, you know, with the size of Boo, like when she opens the doorknob and so on, you know what I mean? And when she opens it, like, Boo, and she sees that, well, they shut off the door and she can no longer see Sully for now. And we see the door being shredded, and the last bit of lines from Roz is, you know, "None of this ever happened, gentlemen, and I don't want to see any paperwork on this." And Roz and the CDA walk off, and, you know, Mike and Sully, they're the only two in the simulated room. Mike finds a piece of the door, hands it to Sully, and that's all he has. And we see Waternoose being taken away to jail, and all of the monster employees that are just watching Waternoose being driven away, and Needleman's Smitty, because it's funny what they say, because, Smitty saying, "I bet we get the rest of the day off," and Needleman saying, "You idiot, they're gonna shut down the factory." Most of the monsters heard that, so yeah. A really cool crowd shot, you know, and one animator animated that group shot, an animator by the name of Roger, and, you know, this is according to Pete Docter and Lee Unkrich, you know, and Lucky Roger, as Pete Docter said in the commentary. Yeah, Lucky Roger, who got to animate that group shot. And, you know, everything is back to normal, but still Sully is, you know, missing Boo very much, and Mike saying to Sully that, you know, about Waternoose, and, you know, about when they exposed him, and, you know, hoping that they can get a copy of that tape, and, you know, trying to cheer up Sully, you know, "Come on, cheer up, pal, we did it, we got Boo home." Yeah, and, you know, we got the factory in trouble, and, you know, sending Waternoose to jail, not to mention the angry mob that'll come after us, and about, like, the power and how much power there's going to be. And Mike mentioned something about laughs, you know, by saying to Sully, finishing his conversation, "But hey, at least we got some laughs, eh?" And that's when Sully gets an idea, because, you know, he says to himself, "Laughs." And then we see we're in a kid's bedroom, and kind of it's calling back to what was in the beginning of this film. Like, we see a shadow of a monster. It's basically like the same shadow of Monster Bile, but it's actually Mike rising up, and you think he's about to scare this kid, but instead, he's putting on a funny act, and, you know, he's trying to make the kid laugh, but he's having no luck. And then, because it's funny, because talking about, you know, sports, and dodgeball was the best. of course I was the ball, I was the ball. and so what he does next, like, because he's having no luck trying to make the kid laugh, he swallows his mic and then he burps it. and that makes the kid laugh. And as of now, Monsters Incorporated now does laughs. It produces laugh power, no longer doing screams and so on. And with Monsters at Work, because yeah, if you've seen season 1 of Monsters at Work, and at the end of the last episode of season 1, how it picks up where, the ending of Monsters Inc. Like, yeah, that's amazing. A good connection right there. And Celia, of course, is of course happy again, and, Mike and Celia being romantic, of course, and, Celia brought in, like, the magazine that, Mike and Sully, they're on the cover of this magazine, and by opening the package, well, because Mike is being covered by, that you would see on any product, to scan it. And Mike just, I don't believe it. And, you think that he's upset. And even Celia, comforting Mike, but no, he's happy. He's more than happy to be on the cover of the magazine because, I'm on the cover of a magazine. Oh! So, again, it's like he doesn't care if he's being blocked or covered by something because he knows he's on this product or whatever, and he's happy about it, and that's nice to see. And all of the monsters, about to, some of them coming in and out of the doors, like for George, well, nice to see that George finally grew his fur back. He's got like a mallet and a watermelon. Monster Bile, well, because what happened to him at the beginning of the film, because, he landed on a pile of jumping jacks, well, that's his act now, with jumping jacks stuck to his butt, and using a basket, a soccer ball, because a soccer ball hit him in the face. So yeah, and even Fungus, we see Fungus having the time of his life. Oh, this is great. He switches his actual glasses with funny glasses, with the nose and mustache, and that is a nod, obviously, to Frank Oz. So yeah. And Sully, who's now the head of Monsters Incorporated, because he can see that all is good now, like where the company is at, but he's still missing Boo, still has that drawing that Boo drew of both of them holding hands, and has that piece from the door. And that's when Mike steps in, and he has a little surprise for Sully. They make their way into the simulated room, and, because where the movie began and where it ended is the simulated room. Yeah. And the surprise that Mike has, well, he restored Boo's door, and it took a lot of wood, and, he has a couple of bandages, like Band-Aids on his hands, and that shows you a good friend Mike is. And Mike's saying to Sully, it only works if you have every piece. Well, because Sully has that piece, he puts it in, it activates, and Mike encouraging Sully to go in, and when he opens the door, and, he looks around and, says, "Boo," you hear, "Kitty," and he looks straight at the camera, and yeah, it's Boo. They're reunited once again, and a touching and fitting way to end the movie right there. And with the end credits, yeah, fantastic. And the bloopers, because Monsters, Inc. being the third and last Pixar film to have outtakes. And the outtakes in Monsters Incorporated were really good and hilarious. Because some of the characters tripping and falling, messing up their lines. It's pretty funny. And there's like a little Toy Story reference in there. And after the bloopers, then we get the full song number, "Put That Thing Back Where It Came From, or So Help Me." The play actually happens. Mike and Sully put on the "Put That Thing Back Where It Came From, or So Help Me" musical, and they're not only singing that, but they're basically reenacting everything that happened with Boo. And it was funny and entertaining. Yeah, because, like, that one little kid monster that bit Mike, you know, he's playing the part of Boo, while Needleman and Smitty are playing the roles of Randall and Fungus. Well, why couldn't they get the actual Fungus to be on there? Well, I mean, I guess it's understandable why they didn't, but, you know, we even get an appearance of Mike's mother, who's in the audience. Well, it was nice to get an appearance of a family member of either, if it was Mike or Sully. I mean, Sully's mother was mentioned when Sully's mother called and Mike took the phone, yeah. But, you know, on screen, we see Mike's mother. So, yeah. Yeah, again, the outtakes, and with the put that thing back where it came from or So Help Me musical, fantastic and hilarious. You know, not to mention, Monsters Incorporated was one of the first computer animated films to be nominated for Best Animated Feature when the Best Animated Feature category began. There was Monsters Incorporated, Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, and DreamWorks' Shrek. And yeah, Shrek, of course, won the first Oscar for Best Animated Feature, beating Monsters Incorporated and Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. But yeah, again, those three computer animated films, like them being the first three computer animated films, and, you know, for that matter, animated films, you know, to be nominated for Best Animated Feature. But Monsters, Inc. still won an Oscar, and that being for Best Original Song, that being If I Didn't Have You. Yeah, because that song number that plays during the credits, you know, I wouldn't have nothing if I didn't have you. A fantastic song, and, you know, Mike and Sully, you know, John Goodman and Billy Crystal singing it, fantastic. Monsters Incorporated. What a fantastic Pixar feature film this is, and for it being, no doubt about it, a true Pixar feature film gem. Yeah, because the story is fantastic, the characters are memorable, the music and score, and with a little bit of jazz in the music, the song number, If I Didn't Have You, the funny moments and the emotional moments, the animation, just everything about Monsters Incorporated is fantastic. And again, for Monsters Incorporated being my all-time favorite Pixar feature film. And of course, I'm giving Monsters, Inc. 10 out of 10 stars. Yes, 10 out of 10 stars for Monsters Incorporated. So, what about you guys? What do you think of Monsters Incorporated itself? Is it one of your all-time favorite Pixar feature films? Is it in your top 10, top 5 list of favorite Pixar films? You know, and which is your favorite Monsters, Inc. character, and what are some of your favorite funny and emotional moments? Everything that I've had to say about Monsters, Inc. And what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. So, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Monsters, Inc. More review videos are on the way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video / review. And, of course, continuing on, me reviewing some of my all-time favorite films. The next film I'm going to be reviewing, well, it's written and directed by Jon Favreau, where he plays a master at cooking. Yeah, I'm sure some of you might know what it is that I'm talking about. Stay tuned for that later this week. Take care, and peace out.